So previously in our Poppy Playtime character concept series, we've been following our main protagonist's journey through the Playtime Co factory. But unknown to them, there was someone else that was on their own journey trying to escape from the factory. And this character is known as Crashbot. A while ago we introduced Crashbot as one of our side protagonists in the overall story. Our friendly little robot character was a special toy that was designed to be a crash test dummy here at the factory. Day after day he would be broken and reassembled. And one day our little Crashbot was given a very important mission. All the incriminating data and evidence behind Playtime Co.'s cruel experiments was uploaded into Crashbot's body. His repair technician was planning to sneak him out and reveal the truth to the public. But sadly, before this could happen, the hour of joy had already commenced. So now Crashbot has to find a way out of the factory and finish his mission. But the prototype won't let this happen. They've sent a legion of evil toys to destroy Crashbot and stop the truth from getting out. But now Crashbot is about to face his next evil antagonist. Speaking of, let's introduce them now. So the next character we're introducing is known as Dolina. Some of you have probably noticed that Dolina looks quite similar to Doey The Doughman. That's because Doey belonged to a whole toy line filled with stretchy dough-like toys. And another member of that toy line was Dolina. Just like how we have Huggy and Kissy, there was also Doey and Dolina. Dolina is a vibrant and playful character made entirely of colourful stretchy dough. She has a cheerful personality that reflects her bright colours. Her main feature is her ability to grow her long flowing dough hair through the extruder at the top of her head. You could give her any colour of hair that you wanted. She can grow and style her hair in countless different ways, whether it was just hanging down, a fancy braid, or even a bouncy ponytail. Dolina's hair adds to her charm and versatility. She proved to be quite the popular character in the dough line of toys. But sadly, her and all the other characters were corrupted by the prototype. In Chapter 4, Doey mentions that the prototype has taken so much from him and his friends. And that included all the members of his dough toy family. In the struggle to protect his dough family, Dolina lost her arm. She found a way to replace it with a colourful dough extruder. On the surface she looked friendly and inviting, but the prototype has planted something inside of her body that lays dormant. Now she is under their control and will do the prototype's bidding. And what he wants more than anything is to stop Crashbot from completing his mission. So speaking of, we now return back to our little crash test robot. He's now found himself in a new area of the factory, and this location was where the dough line of toys was created. All around him are large vats of the doughy and slimy liquid that makes these characters. There's also multiple machines that can press and squeeze this dough into multiple shapes and sizes. Crashbot needs to be careful not to activate any of this dangerous machinery, because without his repair technician, if he gets destroyed, this time it would be permanent. So whilst he makes his way through this new area, a new toy character suddenly appears. Crashbot quickly hides before whoever they are knows he's there. He's gotten quite good at hiding, and hopefully this mystery character didn't see him. But he starts to hear a soft and soothing voice coming from that direction. They tell him that there's no need to be scared. They can actually help him get out of this area safely. Crashbot decides to show himself and see who it is. And it was none other than Dolina. Her soft voice and friendly appearance put Crashbot at ease. She doesn't look like an evil toy, and she actually seems quite nice. So Crashbot decides to trust her and let her show him the way out of here. He follows this friendly character through the dough factory. As of yet, he hasn't told her his plan or his mission. He still doesn't know who he can trust and needs to be careful. And eventually, he'll learn that this was the right choice. Suddenly, he can no longer hear or see Dolina. One minute she was there, and the next she has disappeared into the darkness. All he could hear was silence. Then, that silence was broken by Dolina's true form. What stands in front of him is the monstrous version of Dolina. The prototype has transformed her into a large mass of slimy dough and sharp teeth. Dolina has led Crashbot right into her trap, and now she has him right where she wants him. And all that's left to do is to destroy this troublesome little robot. Crashbot needs to find a way out of here. The only gadget that he has is the key hand, so he won't be able to attack and defend himself from Dolina, but he might be able to unlock a way out of here. So Crashbot has to run around and look for a way to escape. Dolina will be lurking around this maze-like area and trying to hunt him down. All around the place are air vents that Crashbot can unlock with his hand, but he would have to be careful of which ones he would open. The majority of these air vents would be a trap containing Dolina's dough body. He would have to look out for the one air vent that was empty and safe to escape through. So after searching around and avoiding Dolina, Crashbot has finally found the right air vent. He quickly unlocks it and escapes through the vent. Dolina stretches her body down the air vent and tries to grab him, but Crashbot has already made it to the other side and is safe for now. He needs to move quickly, because who knows if Dolina will find him again, and for all he knows, there's probably other evil dough characters lurking around. But he won't know for sure, and the only way to find out is to wait and see. So I think that Dolina would be an interesting character to add to our roster of evil toys. I think her design is also pretty fun, and her monstrous version is definitely quite intimidating, that's for sure. With her large monstrous body trying to find the player, it would definitely make escaping a difficult task. But if the player pushes forward and finds the right air vent, then they can get poor little Crashbot to safety. But who knows exactly how safe he'll be going forward, because you never truly know what this factory has in store next. So the next toy characters are known as the Weirdos. The Weirdos are a range of gross and crazy looking rubber ball toys that are filled with gooey dough. When squeezed, they ooze out this sick slimy dough. These strange and wacky toys proved to be quite popular in the early days of Playtime Co. They were considered to be a collectible / prank toy for kids to gross out their friends and siblings. In this collection, there were 4 different characters. First we have Grungy Grin, Oozy Ogre, Creepy Curdle, and lastly, Grimy Grizzle. There were other limited edition characters in the collection like gold and rare versions, but for the most part, these 4 characters were the original Weirdos. The Weirdos toy line only lasted a few years. Eventually they were recalled after a few tragic incidents happened with the slimy dough inside the toys. Not much is known about what happened, and Playtime Co. kept very quiet about this specific recall incident. So now the Weirdos are to be left here in the factory and stored away for good. But as time went on, strange incidents started to occur around the factory. More and more of these weirdo toys started appearing out of nowhere. The factory has stopped manufacturing them, but they just kept showing up more and more. It was almost like they were multiplying all by themselves. None of the workers could explain what was happening. All they did know was to stay well away from these weird looking toys. Rumour has it that one of the workers was attacked and never seen again. Some even say when this worker went missing, more of these weirdos started showing up. So it's safe to say that something sinister is behind these weird dough toys. And soon enough, Crashbot will witness these strange toys for himself. Speaking of, we now return back to his journey through the factory. He's still stuck in the dough processing area. Crashbot needs to find a way out of here before any other creepy toys show up again. But just as he turns the corner, he sees his next foe standing down the corridor. It was some strange looking ball, but this ball had a weird looking face. Whatever this toy was, it made Crashbot feel quite uneasy. The Grungy Grin toy just stood there staring right back at him. Then suddenly, bright green dough starts oozing from its eyes and mouth. Crashbot knows this can't be good and turns back around. But the rest of the weirdos are standing right there behind him. each one of them oozing that disgusting slime. Everywhere Crashbot looked, these strange rubber balls were appearing from the darkness. Before they all make their attack, he makes a run for it. As soon as Crashbot runs, all the weirdos start rolling after him. Now the chase is on for him to find a safe place to escape from these weirdos. Throughout this area, Crashbot can activate multiple conveyor belts to move from one section to another. This can give him the advantage to quickly escape the weirdos, but if he stops for too long, then they'll catch up with him and attack. So whilst Crashbot rides all the conveyor belts to safety, he needs to avoid these evil dough toys. Each one of these disturbing looking toys will stop at nothing to destroy him. Crashbot soon realizes that these weirdos won't stop chasing him, and he needs to destroy them if he wants to get out of here alive. At the end of the conveyor belts is a large hydraulic press. Crashbot just needs to lure the weirdos underneath this press and activate it. When he does, the press slams down with a loud splat. Finally, some of these toys have been destroyed. Now he just needs to destroy the other ones and this will all be over. So in this gameplay segment, the player will need to keep looping around this area and activating the press at the right time. Loop after loop, another bunch of weirdos get splattered by the press. Eventually, Crashbot is down to the last batch. And with one loud splat, finally all the weirdos have been destroyed. Now that the area is clear, Crashbot is safe to move forward. Hopefully this is the last of these strange dough toys. But he won't know for sure, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens next. So I think that the Weirdos are an interesting toy to add to our roster of Poppy Playtime characters. I think their gross and creepy design is pretty fun and wacky as well. These multiple weirdo toys would be a constant threat that the player has to deal with. They would be everywhere and the player would need to keep moving. This constant pressure would definitely put the player on edge, and they'll need to be careful or else they'll be devoured by the weirdos. So the new toy that we're introducing is known as Doughbot. Doughbot is a robotic toy with the added fun of stretchy and moldable dough. Each of his robotic extremities were joined together with the bright purple dough in his body. His robotic parts would be magnetic and the dough would allow his body to bend and pose in any direction. Doughbot was a pretty advanced toy for his time. Playtime Co. worked very hard in his design and functionality, but such an advanced toy would come with some slight problems. No matter how hard Playtime Co. tried to iron out all the kinks, Doughbot just didn't seem to fully work as a toy. Sometimes it would be a problem with his magnetic body, and other times it would be a problem with his dough arms and legs. But as much as Playtime Co. didn't want to admit it, the real problem was they could not control him. Despite almost releasing this new toy line, in the end the company decided not to go ahead with the Doughbot toy. In trying to make something more advanced and exciting, they instead made something much more deadly and advanced. The original Doughbot toy started to defect and act on his own free will. As time went on, his body started to morph and change. Doughbot eventually discovered that he could create any shape and object that he desired, and he would use this to his advantage. In an attempt to escape, the defective Doughbot attacked some of the workers. The workers were gravely injured, and the factory had no other choice but to destroy their creation. But what they didn't realise was this wouldn't be enough to stop Doughbot. His stretchy dough body gathered up all the scrap body parts it could find, and with some help from the prototype, a new destructive Doughbot was created. Now whoever gets in his way will surely be destroyed. And unlucky for our little Crashbot, he'll be the next one to encounter this horrible toy. Speaking of, we now return back to Crashbot. He's found himself in one of the robot repair centres and is about to receive a much needed upgrade. So far he's got the key hand that can grant him access to all the locked doors in the factory. But the next upgrade he's getting would prove to be much more helpful. And this new upgrade is the drone hand. Crashbot's hand can now transform into a remote drone that can help him on his journey. This drone can be controlled remotely and help out with puzzles and even distract enemies. But it can only be controlled for a short amount of time. Eventually it will need to return back to Crashbot's arm and recharge. But now that he's got his new upgrade, he's ready to move forward. So in this new area of the factory, Crashbot can use his new drone hand to access high up air vents and unlock obstacles from the other side. The drone can also carry an electric current and activate power node puzzles as well. But eventually this little drone attracts some unwanted attention from something truly evil. The evil Doughbot has followed the drone back to Crashbot's location, and this little intruder was about to be dealt with. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Doughbot smashes through a wall to attack Crashbot. Luckily, he dodges this attack just in time. Now standing before him was a monstrosity of robotic parts and purple slime. Whatever this terrible toy creature was, Crashbot wants nothing to do with it. He quickly makes a run for it and tries to get to safety. Doughbot quickly follows after him, and the chase was now on. Crashbot needs to run and find a place to hide, because there was no way he'd be able to outrun this twisted version of Doughbot. Eventually, Crash finds a place to hide, but it doesn't take long for Doughbot to find his location. In this instant, Crashbot can use his new drone hand. The drone flies out and zaps Doughbot. Doughbot is now focused on the drone and chases after it. This gives Crashbot some time to escape and find a new way out of here. And it looks like they've found something that they can use. He's located the area where Playtime Co. stores all of its scrap metal and junk. Above all this scrap metal was a large electromagnet. Crashbot could use the drone hand to power the magnet and hopefully dispose of Doughbot. Speaking of, the drone hand finally returns to his body, and along with it was also the evil Doughbot. Now it's come to the final showdown, and it's time to stop this twisted robot for good. So in this gameplay segment, Crash would need to use his drone hand to power the electromagnet. It would need to be positioned right above Doughbot before it was activated, so Crashbot would need to lure Doughbot around the arena and avoid all of his attacks. And when the time was right, the drone would activate the magnet. Crashbot holds on tightly to something while all the robotic parts are stripped away from the purple dough. They all cling to the magnet high above the ceiling, and eventually the drone returns to his body and the magnet loses power. All the robotic parts fall to the ground and smash into pieces. The purple dough tries to reassemble itself, but there are no solid parts left to construct a working body. All that's left is a pile of dough covered with many small metal pieces. It has now been rendered useless and is no longer a threat. This being the case, Crashbot can finally move forward and advance to the next area. He's finally defeated this rogue toy and he's ready for whichever toy comes next. And as to who that will be, we'll just have to wait and see. So I think that Doughbot would be an awesome addition to our roster of characters. I think that his creepy design would fit in well with Poppy Playtime, and he would definitely be a challenge for the player. With his twisted body filled with dough and machine parts, he's an enemy that shouldn't be messed with. But in the end, our little Crashbot won the battle and can move on. But now he finds himself at the end of the dough production area, and what he finds there isn't what he expected. It looks like this whole area has been destroyed. All around are piles of rubble and broken machinery. Crashbot sets out his new drone hand to scout the area. It seems that the exit to the dough production plant has completely collapsed. What on earth happened here? Regardless, Crashbot needs to find another way out of here, and he doesn't want to stick around to find out what caused all this damage. So he sets out to see what he can find. There must be an air vent or something else that... What on earth was that? All of a sudden, this large monstrous creature has broken through the wall. Its body appears to be made from a large pile of dough, and its legs are made from the rubble in this area. Crashbot makes a run for it and tries to get somewhere safe. This mystery creature quickly follows after and tries to devour him. What could this strange pile of dough possibly be? Crashbot has never seen a toy that looks like this, and as far as he's concerned, this toy doesn't exist at Playtime Co. For the most part, Crashbot was correct. This thing wasn't actually a toy. This was the dough itself that was used to make all the other toys. So back while the Hour of Joy was taking place, a tragic accident happened in the dough processing plant. The large metal vats that mix up and create all the dough were left unattended. With what was going on at the factory, no one was paying attention to the dough vats. The tanks reached full capacity and suddenly ruptured. All the workers in the area were covered in the searing hot mixture of molten dough. The bodies of all the workers melted together and their DNA was fused with the dough. This dough became sentient and formed into the creature known as Darantula. It managed to create spider-like legs from all the rubble surrounding them. Now Darantula can move around and devour anything it sees. All it wants is to consume and get as large as possible. Just like a spider in a web, it'll attack anything that moves. And its latest victim turns out to be our little Crashbot. Finally, Crashbot has managed to hide in a security office and has gotten away from Darantula. It's still out there looking for him, and he needs to be careful. Luckily, Crashbot has found a map and it looks like there's another way out of here. There's a large drying furnace that is used to dispose any leftover dough from the production process. It seems there's a disposal shaft at the end of this furnace that leads out of this area. It was worth a shot and it looks like it's his only option. So Crashbot sets out to locate this drying furnace. On his way there, he would need to unlock multiple doors and obstacles. He would also need to be quiet and not attract the attention of Darantula. But as he gets closer to the furnace, this wouldn't be an easy task. As he passes through a scanner, an alarm rings out. Darantula now knows exactly where he is and makes a run for it. Crashbot locates the furnace and tries to reach the disposal shaft at the end. But in order to open it, he'll need to activate the furnace. Moments later, Darantula has finally found him, and it'll stop at nothing to destroy our little robot protagonist. So whilst dodging attacks from Darantula, Crashbot would also have to activate multiple switches for the furnace. After he activates every switch, the furnace starts to fire up. This furnace is getting very hot and extremely dry. Any moisture in the air is quickly evaporated. And the same was happening for Darantula's slimy body. Slowly but surely, it was starting to dry out and crack. If Crashbot can keep it inside the furnace for a little longer, then surely its body will dry out and crumble. So switch after switch, Crashbot activates them all. And finally, the hatch opens up. He runs towards the hatch and goes to make his exit. But at the last second, Darantula blocks his way. Just before this creature makes their final attack, they notice something. All the stretchy dough that made up its body and limbs was dried out and was starting to crack. Moments later, their body crumbles into pieces. Finally, they've been defeated and now Crashbot can make his exit. After everything he's been through, finally he'll be leaving this dough production area. But as to where this disposal shaft will take him next is unknown. Hopefully he'll be able to find his way out of the factory soon enough. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens next on Crashbot's journey. So I think that Darantula would be a pretty interesting character to add to our Poppy Playtime roster of characters. I think that its design is quite creepy, and when it's stalking the player, they would need to be extra careful not to alert this creature. I also think the spider-like design is quite fun and also pretty intimidating as well. The player needs to be extra careful when dealing with this enemy, because if they aren't, this hideous pile of dough and rubble will be the last thing they ever see. Character we're introducing is known as Dozilla. Dozilla is a fun monster toy that's loosely based on the character Godzilla. Playtime Co. knew they couldn't make an actual Godzilla toy of their own due to copyright. So they changed the name and the design slightly so they could make their own toy. And thus forward, Dozilla was born. Dozilla's design is a mixture of plastic parts and squishy dough additions all over his body. The spikes on his back could be moulded into any shape or size. Dozilla is genuinely a good-natured toy, but he can easily get worked up when excited. And when he's excited, that's when Dozilla can get very destructive. He has an annoying habit of breaking almost anything he sees. If it isn't bolted down to the floor, Dozilla would surely push it over and destroy it. The workers have tried to stop this destructive behaviour, but it just made things worse. It seems like no matter what they did, Dozilla would always have this desire to destroy everything. But thankfully, Playtime Co. came up with a way to manage his favourite hobby. The workers designed a model city that Dozilla could destroy as much as he wanted. Each building and tower could be rebuilt after he was done wrecking them. At the beginning of each day, the workers would rebuild the model city so Dozilla could destroy it all over again. For the most part, this plan seemed to work. Dozilla would happily smash his way through the miniature city and would leave all the workers and the other toys alone. But this plan would only work for so long. After the hour of joy was over and all the workers were gone, now there was no one left to rebuild the miniature city that Dozilla could destroy. He waited and waited, but none of the workers returned to build his model city. As time went by, the absence of the workers sent Dozilla into a fiery rage. His anger consumed him and his body started to grow at a furious rate. The more angry he got, the more his body would grow and grow. By the time his angry outburst was over, Dozilla was unrecognizable. His cute and cuddly appearance was now that of a vicious and deadly creature. So now Dozilla aims to crush and destroy anything that he gets his hands on. And, unluckily for Crashbot, he might be the next thing Dozilla destroys. Speaking of Crashbot, we now return back to his journey. At the moment, he was following the furnace disposal hatch that led out of the dough production area. But suddenly, the moving track he was on came to a screeching halt. Was he already at his destination, or was something stopping the track from moving? Regardless, Crashbot exits the disposal chute to check out the problem. It appears that the motor has burnt out and needs a new fuse. Surely there's a spare fuse he can borrow laying around. So Crashbot sets out in this new area to see what he can find. As he looks around, he notices something quite strange. All throughout this area are miniature buildings that have been broken and smashed. It almost looks like someone has built a tiny city, and then something else has bulldozed through it. As Crashbot continues to search this area, he soon sees the culprit of all this destruction. Standing there off in the distance was Dozilla. His large, hulking body was now towering over the tiny broken buildings. One attack from this monstrous toy would surely smash Crashbot's body into pieces. If he's gonna sneak past the sleeping Dozilla, then he'll have to be extra quiet. So, in this gameplay segment, Crashbot will need to sneak through this area and not wake Dozilla. He would need to be careful not to step on any of the small buildings or rubble as to not make any sound. If Crashbot makes too much noise, then Dozilla will wake up from his sleep and destroy him. So, slowly but surely, Crashbot manages to sneak past all the miniature buildings and not make a sound. He comes across a generator that has a few spare fuses he could borrow. With much excitement, Crashbot quickly collects the fuses from the generator. But little did he know, this was the fire alarm system for this area. And without those fuses, the alarm has now been set off. Water sprays down over Dozilla and the loud alarm system rings through his ears. Dozilla is now wide awake and is staring right at the little Crashbot who just woke him. He lets out a rage-filled roar and charges straight towards the little robot. Crashbot needs to quickly get out of here and run back towards the disposal hatch. He'll have to place the new fuses into the motor before he's devoured by Dozilla. So, in this gameplay segment, the player will need to do their best to keep away from Dozilla and dodge his attacks. They can run through small spaces that he can't fit in and try to escape that way, but it won't take long before Dozilla destroys those spaces and the player will be back out in the open. Finally, after running away and avoiding all of Dozilla's attacks, Crashbot makes it back to the disposal hatch. He quickly sets in the new fuses, and the moving track is ready to go. Eventually, Crashbot makes it out of here without being smashed to pieces. Now that he's escaped Dozilla, he continues down the disposal chute to wherever it takes him next, and as to where that is unknown. And the only way we'll find out is to wait and see. So I think that Dozilla would be an awesome addition to our roster of characters. I think that his sheer size and attacks would be a challenge for the player. It would be especially challenging when the player needs to sneak past the sleeping Dozilla and not make a sound, because if they aren't careful and they wake him, then it'll all be over. Alrighty everyone, well that's all we have for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like, commenting and subscribing, as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. As always, do be sure to let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of Dozilla and what you'd like to see going forward. And also a very big thank you to everyone who helped support and watch today's video as well. We appreciate all the likes, views and comments, and we hope you're all enjoying the series as well. And lastly, just a very big thank you to all of our Gamerjoob members who help support the channel. If you'd like to be a Gamerjoob member, then do be sure to click the link down below or the join button. But alrighty everyone, until our next Poppy Playtime character concept video, I'll catch you later, bye.